Are you having a good time? Yeah. Learning a lot? You know, just like church, there is room in the front. So we have 4 chairs right here. We have a couple over here. So don't be shy. Come on down. Yeah, and Jeff says he used his deodorant today, so it's all clear. Well, thank you all, and we have a real treat. South Dakota is very fortunate. We have a visionary leader who knows the value of technical education. He not only advocates and supports us, but he puts it into action. As we face the shortage of skilled technical graduates and workers within South Dakota, he joined with T. Denny Sanford in committing $25 million of future funds toward Build Dakota scholarships to match the $25 million committed by Mr. Sanford. The scholarships are for critically needed graduates in high demand fields. He made it happen. Not only does he support scholarships, but he provided over $10 million in the last 3 years for equipment for technical education. He supports our building, maintenance and repair, and bonding for new facilities to provide top quality, state-of-the-art facilities. Thank you, Governor. We are blessed. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the 32nd Governor of the great state of South Dakota, the Honorable Dennis Daugaard.
Thank you very much, and welcome to South Dakota. Those of you who are not from South Dakota, I know many of you are, but we're in all respects pleased to have everyone here in Sioux Falls for this conference. Who's visiting South Dakota for the first time? Some of you I know from out of state, not many, just 1 or 2. That's very good. This past May, I know those of you from South Dakota know President Obama came to South Dakota. It was the last state of his bucket list to visit as president. He'd been to South Dakota before he was elected, but since elected, of course, you know, his goal was to meet or to visit every state as president. And we were the last state to visit. Of course, we told him that's saving the best for last. You know, kind of joking around that, but many of you may know, those of you from South Dakota do know, I'm sure, but those outside of South Dakota may not know, the place he chose to visit was a technical school. He chose to attend the graduation of the Lake Area Technical Institute north of here in Watertown, South Dakota. I know that our tourism secretary had sent him a fairly lengthy list of places that he should visit, but he chose Lake Area Tech. And I can't think of a better place for the President of the United States to visit here in South Dakota than one of our fine technical institutes. I thought his speech was very good, but I have to admit, I got a little nervous that some of our staff might jump ship when he noted that Lake Area Tech graduates earn nearly 50% more than new hires in the area. I thought I might lose some staff, but enough on that. In South Dakota, we believe in allowing businesses to prosper. You know, we have no corporate income tax, no personal income tax. We have no business inventory tax, no personal property tax. We don't even have an inheritance tax. And this puts more money into the pockets of individuals and in our businesses, and it creates a more favorable environment for growth. And we work hard to ensure that our regulations and our laws are reasonable and try to keep our costs low. In fact, people who live elsewhere and then move to South Dakota are generally very pleased to find the low cost of living here. I know that if you ever go to New York or New Jersey or California or Washington, D.C., there's a little bit of sticker shock when you go to the restaurant or when you pay your motel bill or when you pay any other kind of bill on those kinds of visits. Or if you talk to people who live there, they'll tell you the costs in those states are 10, 12. In fact, the U.S. Department of Commerce data proves that in New Jersey, New York, DC, Hawaii, California, states like that, the costs are maybe 10, 12, 16 times higher than the average across the United States. In South Dakota, we're about 88% of that average. So it's really a low-cost place to both live and do business. And like most states, though, when recessions come along, we share some of the burdens of the recession. And like most states, we lost jobs during the recession. But we rebounded quickly. We regained all those jobs, and we've added many thousands of jobs since then. In fact, we have more jobs in South Dakota than any time in our history. I know the theme of this meeting is Rock On Tech Ed, and I can assure you that in South Dakota, we want Tech Ed to rock on. We really do. We need Tech Ed to rock on, because like most states, South Dakota has a workforce issue. And I'm sure you hear it. If you're from outside South Dakota, you hear it in your state when Governor Mary Fallon from Oklahoma was the president of the National Governors Association. She made that her issue as president or chair of all the governors, and every governor nodded, yeah, we have a workforce problem in our state. Here, the most recent labor data shows our statewide unemployment rate here is 3.7%. We remain among the lowest in the nation. Here in Sioux Falls, where the conference is being held, the unemployment rate is only 2.8%. Now that's great in some respects. It's great that the economy is strong and there's lots of demand for employees. But our low unemployment rate also is an indication of a problem. And that is, people are out there looking for jobs, and employers can't find people. Even though there's people out there, employers can't find them. It reminds me of the story of Simple Simon, who was interviewing for a job. And he applied for a deputy sheriff's job. And during the interview, the sheriff asked Simple Simon some questions, to test his ability and aptitude. And he said, "What's 1 and 1?" And Simple Simon said, 11. And the sheriff thought, well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for, but I guess 1 and 1. Yeah, I guess that's 11. The next question was, what 2 days of the week begin with T? And Simple Simon said, today and tomorrow. The sheriff thought, well, again, not quite what I was looking for, but, not wrong either. So he thought he'd really challenge him. He said, who killed Abraham Lincoln? And Simple Simon said, I don't know. And the sheriff said, now, boy, you go home and work on that. And he was satisfied that he'd stumped him. Well, Simple Simon went home. He walked in the door, and his mother said, how'd the interview go? He said, it went great. First day on the job, and I'm already working on a murder case. The point of the story, though, is that sheriff was looking for someone with skills that Simple Simon didn't have. And that's what's happening in South Dakota and in many of your states. There are people out there looking for work, but they don't have the right skills. At the peak of the recession, nationwide, for every opening, there were 7 people looking. That's how bad it was. That's how tough finding a job was. For every opening, there were 7 people looking for a job. In South Dakota, it never got that bad. It was more like 3 people looking for every job opening. Today, it's more like 1 person looking in South Dakota for every job opening. And you might think, well, gosh, that sounds perfect. Perfect alignment. Now we can have a job for everyone. The problem is, of course, you know the answer. They're like Simple Simon. They don't have the skills that the employers who are hiring want. So to address workforce issues in South Dakota, we need people to consider being welders, machinists, entering automotive, building trades, renewable energy, engineering, nursing, and other health fields. We need them to enter not just any post-secondary education, but the right ones. When I went to school, boy, that was a long time ago. When I went to school, really just going to school after high school, just going to college, meant if you graduated, you would have a pretty good shot at a good job almost anywhere. That's not true anymore. If you talk to most parents, their dream is for their kids to go to a 4-year university. I'm not knocking 4-year colleges. We need 4-year colleges. We do. But just going to that college is not enough. First of all, 40% of the students who enter college won't graduate. You know, within 5-6 years, they still won't have their degree. In fact, that number is after 6 years. So 100 people go in, 6 years later, 40 of them have still not gotten their degree. Of the 60 that did get their degree, about 40% of them won't get a job that requires a 4-year degree. So that's 40% of 60 is 24. So out of that 100, 40 plus 24, 64 of them either won't have a degree or will have a degree that doesn't do them any good. Right? That's what's happening in America today. And that's a problem because those 60 that got through are going to have 4 or 5 years worth of debt, probably, a lot of them. And those that didn't get through are going to have some debt, probably. And that's a burden for which there is no reward. So we've got a problem. Soon after taking office, I recognized that if we wanted South Dakota to continue to be a great place for business to call home, we needed to do something about our workforce. Fortunately, our tech schools here in South Dakota are already doing a great job. They already have identified the skill sets needed. They have pretty good relationships with industry in South Dakota who are telling them, here's what we need. And our tech schools are providing those kinds of graduates to the best of their ability. We in South Dakota depend on degree holders from our 2-year institutes, and we're not unique in this, although we do have probably a disproportionate number of 2-year degree holders in South Dakota as compared to most states. So we're doing better, I think, at marketing our technical schools and in creating those graduates. The importance of our 2-year institutions in the United States economy can't be overstated. I talked about the weaknesses that we're seeing in the groups going to our 4-year degree institutions. I'm grateful that the technical institutes in South Dakota are focused on workforce development and on providing training that leads to jobs. Now, I don't know if this is accurate, but someone told me that the most common 4-year degree today is a psychology degree. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's accurate. Does anybody know if that's accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
I'm getting a yes right down in front here from one of your board members. That reminds me of a story. I was at Lake Area Tech, the institution where President Obama visited. They have a scholarship luncheon every year, and I've gone to it and tried to encourage people to donate towards scholarships at Lake Area Tech. And I was at the scholarship luncheon. I'm off script now. I know I'm between you and lunch, so I'll try and keep this short. But at the luncheon, of course, they trot out, as good institutions do, some of their attractive students who have a good, compelling story to tell. Because if there's donors in the audience, you want them to see human winners that their scholarship money can produce. And so they trotted out a couple of students. It was interesting to me that one of those students was a young woman who had gotten a 4-year degree in psychology. She had gone to a 4-year college, gotten her degree, and couldn't get a good job. Couldn't get a job. There really are no jobs for 4-year degree psychology graduates, I don't think. Or if they are, the pool of applicants is deep and wide. So she came back to tech school so she could get a degree that could actually get her a job. Now that doesn't seem too much rocket science to me, but our students are not being told to look beyond the fun of school. I mean, they go to school, they make choices. My daughter made one of her choices against an institution because she thought the dorm was kind of dirty when she visited. Don't make your choice based on the cleanliness of the dorm, Sarah. Please. Anyway, she did fine. She's an electrical engineer now, and she's got a great job. But it just shows you how our young people will make decisions really that aren't very well reasoned. And so we need to help them make well-reasoned decisions. In South Dakota, we've made tech ed a priority. It's vital that our young people know the opportunities that are here in South Dakota so that they understand which pathways lead to a job and which pathways can still lead to a degree, but they need to have their eyes open about the opportunity for jobs. Now, I'll get criticized, I'm sure, and I have been criticized when I've made speeches like this. Why are you knocking philosophy degrees? Why are you knocking art history degrees? Why are you not knocking liberal arts education? I'm not. If someone wants to be an art history major and that's their dream, go get it. Go get it. Live your dream. But have your eyes open. If you want that dream to lead to a job, that's something different. Then you might be just dreaming, not realistic. So follow your dreams, but realize that if you pursue degrees or certificates or academic pathways, at the end of those pathways, understand what job opportunities are there or are not there. That's what I'm saying. Well, in South Dakota, we can't wait until after high school either. In early 2014, South Dakota invested over $8 million to advance career and tech ed in 12 regional high schools in South Dakota. When budgets get tight at the high school level, one of the first places that gets cut is career and tech ed. Why? Because they're the expensive programs. They're smaller in terms of student participation. And then they aren't required generally by state standards, so they get cut. Now, as we recognize the folly of that, we can't, in South Dakota, we have over 150 school districts. Some are quite small because we're one of those big footprint states, small population, big geography, and we can't provide career and tech ed at every small high school throughout the state. We can't afford it. You can't put welding equipment in every small school. So we picked 12 regional schools who applied to become hubs, and school districts that surround them will send students in for career tech ed. It's not ideal, but it's what we can afford. And just last month, for example, I was able to celebrate the completion of a brand new career and tech ed high school in Aberdeen, South Dakota, that will serve surrounding school districts. And I urged them, I said, look, align your curriculum with the curriculum that is found in our tech ed post-secondary institutions. So if you take a year of welding in Aberdeen High School, you shouldn't have to take that first year of welding again at Lake Area Tech or at Southeast Tech. So it's up to the tech schools and the high schools to work together to align curriculum. So we're training people in the right ways that are relevant to industry and not duplicative and inefficient. Last December, as Jeff mentioned, I was pleased to announce an exciting opportunity for post-secondary students, the Build Dakota Scholarship. It's a $50 million program, as he mentioned. Half of it was a donation from Denny Sanford, a philanthropist here in South Dakota, and half of it is $25 million from state monies. And those dollars are going to combine to create full ride scholarships. In fact, some of the students right here at Southeast Tech are here because of those full ride scholarships. And it's open to in-state and out-of-state students. So our aim is to train the workers we've got here, the students we've got here, to be relevant. And the only courses that are eligible for the full scholarship are those high demand courses that industry is telling us these are the areas where we're short workforce, and that's where we're focusing this scholarship. Nearly 300 students were awarded the first scholarships here just this fall, and overall enrollment at the tech schools here in South Dakota is up. And I know the scholarships have contributed greatly to increased enrollments in these high demand program areas. Now, I tell you about the new scholarship, and Jeff mentioned it too, not only because I'm excited about it, but also because it's the result of intentional conversations. We had summits around the state. We had a summit in Sioux Falls, we had a summit in Brookings, in Watertown, 3 other summits to engage education, tech schools, as well as 4-year schools, and industry and government in an intentional conversation about creating training programs in our post-secondary schools that lead to the jobs that we need to fill. And I know that it was this Build Dakota Scholarship donation from Denny Sanford only occurred because we had those summits, because those conversations occurred, and we recognized, hey, we need to do something. And he came forward with that offer that I was able to match. So that kind of cooperation is going to be vital in all states as we address this issue. One of your organization's goals is to partner with educational institutions, business, industry, labor, and government to enhance workforce development strategies. That's exactly what we did. We partnered, and we created a structure where we spent the whole day in conversation about these things. So ultimately, workforce isn't an issue that can be solved easily or all at once. And that's why in South Dakota, we want technical education to do more than rock on. We want you to rock hard too, okay? And communication is really important. No matter how hard you try, some people won't listen. You know, my wife says I don't listen. The other day she said, you only hear what you want to hear. I said, sure, I'll have a beer. That's an example, right? It's an example. Some people don't want to hear when you say that technical education is both rigorous and rewarding. I know people still see it as a consolation prize for people who can't make it in college. That's ridiculous. It's rigorous and it's rewarding, more so than many 4-year degrees. So I'm continually surprised that some folks still can't get that through their heads. Some parents can't get that through their head. They have this dream for their children that is going to burden their children with debt and lead them to unemployment or underemployment. It's going to lead them to a 4-year degree where they're a barista at Seattle Best or at Starbucks. Not that that doesn't have dignity. All work has dignity. But if you're going to spend 4 years getting a lot of debt and then go to that job, you might want to think about it if you have the ability to turn the clock back. So technical education has the opportunity to do so many things for our economy, both here in South Dakota and in other states represented here. I know you're going to have to work hard to overcome that communication problem, but we need to keep pounding that drum, keep beating that drum, and eventually we will be heard. I think we're starting to be heard. I want to just conclude now because I know you're hungry, and but I just want to conclude with a word of appreciation. I appreciate what you do. Many of you are instructors at your own institution. You could probably get more money in industry than you're getting as an instructor. So I want to tell you how much I appreciate your willingness to forego that to help young people find rewarding careers in industry. I appreciate what you do and I value it. You know, sometimes, and we've had these, we've had people that are selfless like that. Many of you probably have been teaching for decades. And when you've got something for a long time, sometimes you don't appreciate it. I've talked about my wife. I sometimes don't appreciate her the way I should. That came home to me most sensibly. Recently, I was at a picnic, and Linda, I should back up. Linda and I met in 8th grade. We dated through high school, and then she moved to Minneapolis and then to California. After I went to a different college, then I moved to Chicago, and we dated other people. Anyway, we ended up getting back together. Now we've been married 34 years. We have 3 kids and 4 grandkids, and she's great. She's just great. But, you know, I've known her for so long, I sometimes fail to express appreciation as I should. The other day, we were at a picnic and we ran across a mutual friend, Dave. Have any of you heard me tell this story? We ran across a friend, Dave, and turns out, and I knew Dave for a long time, but it turns out Linda had known him since college. They were at the same college. I was at a different one. And Dave, as he expressed it, thought Linda was hot. I thought that was kind of inappropriate because I'm her husband and I'm right there. But anyway, it made me realize, gosh, because that made Linda feel good, obviously. And I think, God, I should make Linda feel good. Well, that night when we were alone, I said, you know, honey, I know I don't tell you how much I appreciate you and how lucky I am to have you as a wife. I'm sure I am so lucky that you married me. She said, that's right. If I married Dave, he'd be governor now. Thanks again for the conversation. Enjoy the rest of the night.